Hi and welcome to another video. I hope you're well. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 common mistakes which many wedding photographers make, and more importantly, how to stop making them. So let's crack on. Now before we start, the common mistakes which I'm going to be talking about are not practical things. It's not like having not enough memory cards or you've not got enough batteries, although if you don't have enough of those, that is definitely a mistake. These are more to do with mindset and psychology, and are mistakes which you may not even be aware that you're making, but if you are, then they can definitely end up having quite a negative impact on your wedding photography business. Now, despite everything that I've just said, the first mistake I'm going to be talking to you about is one which is quite practical, and it's one which I know I definitely struggle with myself. And that mistake, and this might be quite controversial, but remember, this is my opinion, that mistake is showing too many images online, or to put it another way, showing images publicly which are not your strongest. I personally believe that for the good of our businesses, it's really important that we only show our strongest images online, and which we really feel reflect us as photographers and our style. All killer and no filler, if you like, because as soon as we start to show images which aren't as strong, we end up, I think, diluting the perceived standard of our work, which we definitely don't want to do, ever. When people visit our websites, we only have a few seconds to make a big impression on them. So it's really important, if we want to stand out, that wherever that visitor goes on our website or our blog or Facebook page or Instagram, that they only see the absolute best of our best work. For me, I would rather a visitor go to my site and maybe only see 4 or 5 images, but be confident that those 4 or 5 images, in my opinion, are particularly strong images, than say they were going to see 20 images, but worry that some of those may not be quite as strong. We're also always told to stay relevant on social media, we need to be posting all the time. I know some people who post images once or twice a day, but the problem with that, certainly for me, is that it becomes increasingly difficult to do that and only show your strongest images, because you may, well, just run out. So personally, I think it's better to only say make 2 or 3 posts a week on Instagram, but know that you're really proud of the images which you are posting, than to say post a couple of times a day, knowing that if you were to do that, then you'd have to lower the bar of the quality of the images which you are posting. So ultimately, I just believe that quality over quantity is the best way to go, because if people only see top quality work from you, then they will naturally see you as being a top quality photographer. So I believe that ultimately, the more ruthless we are when it comes to choosing which images we show to the world, the better it will be for our businesses. Okay, so the second mistake is one which I think we have all made at some point, and it's probably still the most common thing which negatively affects us as wedding photographers and our self-belief and our confidence, and that mistake is comparing ourselves to other photographers. So more so than ever before, we now live in a world where we are bombarded with amazing images from photographers from all over the world. If your Facebook or Instagram is anything like mine, as soon as you open them up, you're going to see incredible images, and it's really easy to compare those images with our own work and feel as though we aren't quite as good. But it's really important to remember that we know our own work inside out. We know all the mistakes we make. We know just how many shots it sometimes takes in order to get the shot, and it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that the photographers who we look at and look up to online just nail every shot that they ever take, because everything you see of theirs is incredible. But trust me, that is not the case, and they do not nail everything they take. Many are just extremely good at not making the first mistake, which I mentioned earlier. By only showing their absolute best work, you believe them them to be better than they are. And the knock-on effect of this is that you lose confidence in your own ability, and that can have a really negative impact on both your business and your motivation. The truth is, from even the best wedding photographers in the world, that the majority of images which they take on a wedding probably wouldn't blow you away, but we don't see those images. We just see the very best 1%. So comparing the whole of what we are shooting to those select few images is always going to be difficult, and we're probably not going to fare well if we do that. The only photographer you should really compare yourselves against is yourself. Now, each year I try to make sure that I'm producing better work and better photographs than I was the year before, and I know that if I can achieve that, then I'm going in the right direction as a photographer, and really that's all that matters. So try not to compare yourself with other photographers, and remember that you will never fare well if you are comparing your cutting room floor to the highlight reels of other photographers. Okay, so following on from that, as it is close related, is mistake number 3, and that is believing everything that you read online. Just don't do it. Now, I've already made a video on this subject which was focused on Facebook, which I will link to up here, but I think it's a really important thing to talk about, so it's worth mentioning again. And what I mean by this mistake is that if you're anything like me and you're friends with, or you follow lots of other wedding photographers on social media, then you will, I'm sure, see lots of other photographers making quite salesy type posts on there, such as, "Wow, I can't believe I'm almost fully booked for next year," or "Crazy, I've had 10 inquiries this morning alone." Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with making posts like that, each to their own, but it's very important to remember as photographers that these statements which we see will virtually never be true. They're just marketing posts. It's just all smoke and mirrors, so it's really important to remember that. So please don't start comparing yourself and the success of your business against statements like that, because they will almost never be true. If you do take them at face value, then you will almost always start to then worry about your business because you're not doing as well as the others are claiming. But remember, almost every message that we see from other photographers will, in some form or other, be a form of marketing, so don't believe it. The best thing you can do is put the blinkers on and solely concentrate on your own business. That will always be better for you than worrying about what others are saying online. And now on to mistake number 4. It's a big one, and that is being scared to fail. In order for us to improve as photographers, it is almost certain that we'll have to try new things and we'll have to step out of our comfort zones. Now, this isn't easy, and for some photographers, the fear of something not working, if you do try something new, can be so strong that they don't try new things, which is a real shame, because ultimately, if you don't try new things, then it's almost impossible to get better. I think it's helpful to see failure as a step along a journey, a necessary step along a journey. For something new to work, you may have to stick at it for a while and accept that it may not work as you would like the first few times, but by sticking at it, that new technique or that new way of shooting could be something which actually really takes your work to a new level. So the initial failures were necessary in order to get you there. And trust me, for all of my creative portraits, there are so many more photographs which I took in the lead up to those which didn't work, and I have had many ideas which didn't work in reality as I really wanted them to. But the moment I start worrying about something not working, it's going to be the moment that I stop creating anything new at all. If you try something new and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean it is not worth sticking with. It just means it's going to take more perseverance, more work, and failure is part of that process. Remember, the failure part is just temporary. So embrace the failure, almost look forward to failing, and remember that failure is just a necessary step in order to get to that improvement. Okay, so on to number 5, which is the last mistake which I'm going to be talking about in this video. It's one that I know many photographers believe, and that is the belief that you have to have the best and the most expensive equipment to be a professional or to be successful. Or to put it another way, that having the best equipment will make your photography better. None of those statements are true. The best wedding photographers are the best wedding photographers because of the way that they see light. They can create really interesting compositions, and they can wait and anticipate capturing real moments. It is literally never the case that they are the best wedding photographers just because they use the best cameras or the best lenses. Now, there's no doubt that having expensive and modern equipment can make the job easier, but it is definitely not a requirement. The best way to improve is not to save up for the latest and greatest cameras. Many people online may have you thinking, many magazines and forums may want you to believe that. The best way to improve is by going out there with the camera that you do have and practice. The skills that you will learn by shooting more and gaining more experience out there with your camera in your hand will be so much more valuable to you as a photographer than saving up and buying another expensive lens. That will never take you where you want to go. So that's all for now. I hope you found the video interesting and useful. Now, one thing I always wanted to say, when I was writing this video, I actually thought of many more mistakes and pitfalls, which I know I've definitely made in the past and maybe others have made too. So if you would like me to make a follow-up video to this, a part 2 if you like, then please let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to do so. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.